we were discussing about this thing, how to achieve zero bugs, nearly zero bugs. Obviously, it is not possible to achieve zero bugs completely, but there are some practices that we can apply in our team which will help us out to get lower bugs as much as possible. So I have discussed, I think, three ingredients, and we were on this one, fix bugs now. So we'll start with this one only. Fix bugs now means that whenever the bug is coming, whenever the error is coming, you have to fix it right away. Um, that is the main motive of extreme programming, what it says. But what happens, sometimes it is not possible to fix every bug on the at the same time. You may be in the middle of working on something else when you find a bug. So in those kind of cases, what happens, you can keep that particular error in your stories to fix it in the next stage when you are completing your right now the work that you are doing. And you can even announce in the complete team that this bug I have encountered, I got this bug right now, and we have to work on it. So whenever someone is getting time in between, they have to work on that particular error. So in this way, the bugs can be fixed. Next one is test your process. I think this one also we have discussed in last class little bit about it. So what is the meaning of this test process? The thing is like till now we have discussed about we have to do unit testing, integration testing. When a program is developing one module, it should be tested right away. After that, when integration happens, the integrated things should be tested. Then the complete project should be tested. So here it is talking about the exploratory testing on the process itself, so that you can find out ki, what things are keeping you lagging behind, if some errors are happening, if some things are happening, whether your process is not correct, whether you are not going in a correct manner. So that's why it says to test the process also, and generally it utilize the word of exploratory testing of the process, not your complete software. So that thing you have to remember. Last one is fix your process. So what happens in fix your process, bugs will occur for sure, because obviously we are human beings and mistakes happens and bugs also occurs. So more often what happens, bugs indicate an unknown flaw in our approach. That means we are not following the correct approach in the process. So you have to find it out, and it is also part of root cause analysis, if you remember that topic, root cause analysis that we have discussed. So this fix your process means you are finding out the root problem, uh, where in your process it is happening, and you are fixing it so that it will not happen again. So that is the complete motive of this fix your process. And when you write down the tests and you are fixing the design, you have to ask some questions to yourself. Okay, why was there no test preventing this bug? Where we are lacking. Next kind of question you can ask is, why does the design need fixing? Whether our design approach is not good. So that kind of things you have to work upon to fix your process. So that is all about the bugs, no bugs that we have were discussing. This topic was about no bugs, that you are putting an aim to yourself for getting no bugs in the complete software or on the stories you are working on. Next topic is your version control. What is this version control? There are different versions will come up. Your version is that you are continuously working on your project, and we keep what is the tagline of this thing, we keep all our project artifacts in a single authoritative workplace. So basically whatever you are working upon, you should back it up, you should keep the backup of it. And that is a thing what this version control talking about. So we will discuss about it, what important points you have to remember in this particular topic about version control. So to work as a team and to make it successful, you need some way to coordinate your source code, your tests, and other important project things that you are working upon. So this version control system, what they call it as there is a one system which keeps all the versions that you are preparing. This version control system provides a central repository. So it keeps everything at that particular central point where you are keeping all your data that you are developing, which will help to coordinate changes to files and also provide history of the changes. Suppose today I have done some coding and that part is completed. It is in release mode. Suppose in first week I have made some stories happening, and for that code is being developed. So it is advisable in extreme programming to keep that code in that central advisory, in that version control system. So that, why they say so, when you are working next week on next iteration demo, what happens, obviously there will be changes in code you are making, you are adding some new features, you are making changes in that. If some bug is happening, so that earlier version that you have stored in your central repository or in your version control system, it will help you out to go through it once again. Okay, in that model there were no errors, but in this model I am getting errors. So what is the thing which is um, which is making this error to arise in this second iteration demo, which was not present in first iteration demo. So these are some things that can help you out to keep those things in your hand and make things easy for you. Now next thing that you have to know, there is one very important term that I wanted to tell you here, is this one, sandbox. Just look, I will underline it. You need to know this thing, sandbox. What is the sandbox? Sandbox, basically it is a working copy. You can say a team member, what team members are working out on their local machines. Basically one team member has developed something, so there is one sandbox for it. So I can say to you, if my, you can imagine it like we all are working in a team, and our project manager is telling us to keep your data in your particular sandbox. Sandbox means I am keeping the backup of it. So don't get confused about it. This is a new term over here, sandbox. So what is the meaning of sandbox? I am repeating it. That means the work that you are doing, the work that you are doing in your local machine, your local development machine, you are keeping it in, keeping it as a copy. So that is called as a sandbox. Next thing, concurrent editing. This one. What is the meaning of concurrent editing? So what happens in concurrent editing, that continuously changes are occurring, and uh, if two people are making changes together and the copies are at same place, so if multiple developers modify the same file and there is no version control, they are not keeping copy of it, then what will happen, they can overwrite each other's changes. That can happen. So that is called as concurrent editing. Together you are doing work, together you are making changes, and mistakenly you have made changes in someone else's file. And obviously if you are not keeping the copy in your central repository, then it will create some issues, it will create some misunderstandings. So to avoid this kind of thing, there is a model called locking model. If you have studied this part in DBMS, I can recall you, if someone is interested in DBMS subject, there is a topic of locking and unlocking. So in locking, what happens, if one person is making any changes in that file, the other person in the complete team is not allowed to make changes in that same file. So that is the complete motive of locking model. It will help to avoid redundancies. Redundancies means same kind of changes are happening and you are not aware of that, and that change happened, and it can also lead to duplicate data. Okay, so locking model helps you to avoid that kind of stuff. And the files in the sandboxes of a particular individual, they are read only until logged. So if right now I am making changes, then another person's files in the sandbox will be in lock mode. That means the another person cannot make the changes, it's been locked. So if you have to check out a file in order to work on it, then you are using a locking model. Now along with the same, I hope you understood this particular part, what is concurrent editing, and you have to talk about locking model and you have to talk about sandboxes. These three important terms you have to remember in version control, and version control is nothing but keeping one copy of it in one central repository. I hope you understood till now. Now, this concurrent editing, when we are talking about locking model, there is one disadvantage also. Uh, Actually, I should not say disadvantage, I should say risk. There is one risk also. If it were not for continuous integration, like it happens that if it is required that the work is so much important and it is to be done for both of people right now, it is required right now to be completed, but one person is making changes with the help of locking model, other person is not able to do that, then it will lead us to the delay in the work. So that is one risk that you have to remember. What risk can locking model through to us if we are utilizing it? So for that, the risk is that if the work is very urgent, it can lead us to the delay in the work. If one person is not able to do changes concurrently together, then yes, it can lead us to delay. So that one you have to remember. Next one, time travel. Another advantage they are giving to us by keeping this practice of version control in extreme programming. What is the meaning of time travel? Time travel, you can relate things now if you have understood well the first 2 points. What is the meaning of time travel is that means you can go to the your past data that you have stored and you can see it. If you have like the first thing in first point that I told you, it is kind of same. You can do diff debugging. That means when you find a challenging bug that you cannot debug normally, go back in time to an old version of the code when the bug did not exist. That is the meaning of this diff debugging. This is also important term that you have to remember. This one, diff debugging. What is the meaning of it? I am again repeating it, the same thing. When you are finding any challenging bug that you cannot debug normally, it is very hard to debug it right now, then what you can do, you can go in your past data, your old version of the code where that bug was not existing, and you can utilize that code again and you can work on it again so that the bug which is happening right now, it will not happen again, or you can fix it as per your choice. The main idea is to access your sandbox and to access that file in your sandbox to check where bug was not existing and to work on it now. So that is your time travel thing. We can go through this line also if you want. One of the most powerful user of version control is the ability to go back in time. You can update your sandbox with all the files from a particular point in the past. So same thing that we have discussed. Last one is whole project. Whole project, it should be obvious that you should store your source code in version control. That means it should be the regular practice of yours, that your complete project, your all um, test cases, your all code, your complete thing, libraries, tools, which are very important, they should all be stored in a central repository. At any point of time it can be utilized. We don't know when it can be utilized, but yes, it is very important to keep them at one place. So that is the concept of whole project. Your whole project should be there in the central repository in the last. So in future if you require it, you can access it as a whole, and the working one, and copies also you can save. This, that was the first copy, second copy, third copy, in that way also it goes on. So that's it. That is about your version control. You have to, the main idea is that you have to remember that you can recall every time about version control is to save the copies of your project that should be there in your sandbox, your individual central repository, you can say, your individual work that you have done on your machine, that should be in your sandbox. And version control means, and there is one central repository where everyone is storing the files in their sandboxes. Next topic, let me clear all this thing. Yes, see, Your next topic is 10-minute build. 10-minute build. That means you are building up a not repository, I should say. Basically, it is a little confusing topic. I will make you understand it in the way you are automating the things. Whatever you are doing, if there are some things which everyone is utilizing in team, then what you want to do, you want to automate it. You want it to be happen by itself. You just click on build button and your things have been built up. That is the motto of 10-minute build. So we eliminate build and configurations hassles. So what is the meaning of this particular thing? What happens in a 10-minute build? The complete idea is about to develop a thing which will help you to do things automatically. Okay, we are just clicking on it. It can be like your some you can say some libraries that you have to use, that these libraries should be involved automatically into the code. Then you are making a build for it and you are utilizing it directly. You are clicking on build and everything will get like incorporated automatically. So how it happens? By utilizing some tools. There are some tools which I mentioned over here. We'll go through it. So your first point is automate your build, that we are discussing right now. What if you could build and test your entire product or create a deployment package at any time just by pushing a button? How much easier would that make your life? I mean, just imagine this thing. Okay, if you want to deliver one story and that one story can be built automatically, you just have to, it is just one click away. You just have to click that button and your one story is ready by itself. So, how it can happen? Actually, it happens through your coding only when you are working on it, when you are working on stories. Then you are utilizing some tools to automate it, and those tools will help you to keep it. If you know about those macros macros in Microsoft Word. Yes, and macros happens in Microsoft Word, which help you to see things automatically. You are making one macro. When you are clicking on that macro, when you are doing programming for that macro will do the complete stuff altogether. Suppose I have to add two numbers, so I want that thing again and again. So I have built a macro for that. I just have to click on that macro and that complete calculation will happen automatically. I have not to do it again and again. So the same thing you can relate here. Your entire product or your deployment package, one story, at any time, just one push away. Okay. So producing that build, sometimes it becomes frustrating that you have to give lot, you have to put some effort on it, then only it becomes ready. Um, and you have to think in between, okay, with the help of this build, this particular build thing, we will be able to release the software or not. With a few days of work, does that software work or not? And these kind of things, and the demo will get ready or not if you are working completely on build. So that's why they say if you're working on small stories, small part of the complete project, then first try to build for that one only. It will help you to go in a long path. Okay, that is the solution for that. Don't directly jump for large build-ups for your complete product, for your complete package. Try to build it for one part of it first and then try it. In one iteration demo, you can show it. Okay, yes, we are working like this also. Build automations. That is the thing. Next one, how to automate it. So we can go through this particular thing. What are the tools available to do such task? So on Google you can search also, these tools are available and you can utilize it. But yes, you need some skill to work over it. It is not like you on first day itself you are ready to do these kind of works. It needs practice. So there are plenty of useful build tools available, and it depends on your platform. So if you are utilizing Java or .NET, so there are some build tools available like Nant, MS Build, which will help you to build up these kind of automation tools. And if you are working on C, C++, Python, they are having their preferred build tools which you can utilize while doing coding. So that is a thing that is about how to automate the build and when to automate from starting itself. Extreme programming says, okay, don't wait for it till the end of the iteration demo. In starting of the iteration itself, you should start building it. It will help you out for a long run. And just wait. Okay, see. What I was telling you that you have to start building it in a starting itself, and the goal of this first iteration is to produce the simplest possible product that accesses your entire system. And in your first iteration also, if you're working on small story, build for it and then go in the same pace. It will help you out to develop for big things also. Then now we'll move forward. What is the next thing? That is your next topic. So 10-minute build is over. Don't get confused with the topic. 10-minute build means we are talking about automation. We are automating our complete thing, our stories, our complete product, or some package of it. That is the meaning of 10-minute build. Next one is your continuous integration. I will try to wind it up in within 2-3 minutes as much as possible, because it's all about your theory only. Most of it is just theory only. The main thing is, as much as possible, we should try to relate it with real time situations. That's it. That's all about your extreme programming practices. So practices means that we have to follow in our daily life, that we are doing in our projects every day. So your complete syllabus is all about practices. So there is no other way to do these things. And please don't make your own answers without knowing these topics. You should know the main basic idea behind it, then only go for making your own answers. In theoretical subjects it happens that we don't bother about it much and we just make it, write down whatever comes in our mind. But these are very important practices of XP, and without them, actually working with extreme programming is not that much easy. Now let's move towards this continuous integration. What is this continuous integration? The ultimate aim of continuous integration is to be able to deploy at any time. That means you are ready at any time to deploy your thing. Your stories up to this part, it is ready, then you are ready to deploy it. So the ultimate goal is that one only, that you are ready to ship, ready to release. That kind of aim is there in continuous integration. So it is a better approach. And what happens in it, it keeps everybody's code integrated together, and this integration happens in few hours or within you can say few days also, but preferably few hours, because everybody is working simultaneously on all the things. So it is preferable to integrate them continuously. We are talking about code. The multiple developers are working together and they are developing multiple stories, and you have to integrate it in the last. What happens, the ultimate goal is to able to deploy all but the last few hours of work at any time. And practically you can say ki you will not release software in the middle of an iteration. Stories will be half done, features will be incomplete. The point is to be technologically ready to release, even if you're not functionally ready to release. It can happen that if your project is something like that, it is by working on two stories and your two stories are completed, but still it is not able to function, because it depends on the later on modules, later on stories to be developed. So what is the meaning of this continuous integration is, you should be technologically ready, means that particular code for that particular two stories are ready, but it depends on the next two stories to make it functional. But yes, the your end, at your end you have completed your stories, the coding part. So that is the thing it is talking about. So being technologically ready means okay, your stuff at your end is complete. Functionally ready means it is giving you output in some manner, and stakeholders also can see that. functioning of that particular story. Next thing, this is the last thing we'll talk about. Collisions are most likely when you are making wide ranging changes. When you do, let the rest of the team know beforehand so they can integrate their changes and be ready to deal with yours. What is the meaning of it? You should not make changes without awareness of other team members, because the code you are working on, there are some coding standards you have to follow. Maybe that code will not work on the other person's machine, so you have to tell them, okay, I am making this kind of change, and you have to check it whether that will work on another machines or not. Sometimes it happens that we say, even in if you are working on some major project or minor project, okay, our code is just working on this machine, it is not working on another machine. So you have to choose accordingly, and these kind of issues should not happen. So that is all about right now, the basic introduction of continuous integration, and that's it for today's session, and we will meet tomorrow. If you are having any doubts, please message me in chat box, and if you are okay with it, first I will stop sharing it. Yes, tell me. If you are having any doubts, please unmute yourself and speak up, otherwise I will end up the session. Okay, then I'll meet you tomorrow. Bye.